What's up everyone, Ian and Alex here. We're gonna go ahead and take you through a super effective and simple at-home workout that you can really do anywhere. So we're really training all planes of motion here, and we're actually able to load this up with weight whenever you're ready for it. So everything's gonna be body weight, but just know over time, progressive overload as always. We're looking at maybe 5 to 15 reps for each exercise. If you wanted to pair it with an ab exercise in between, that's cool. But we're gonna just show you 4 different lower body exercises. So the first one's super simple, reverse lunge. What we wanna see is that she has a nice soft knee on this right one that's gonna be in the front. Abs are pulled in, and then we're gonna go ahead and step back under control, sink into it, and then she's gonna use this front leg to drive through and step forward, up nice and tall again. And we're just gonna do one more from that view. So we're really keeping the weight on our front foot. Yeah, there's weight on the back foot, but we're really loading our right hip and driving through it. So you can go ahead and turn towards the camera, and let's have you step back on this one. It's really important to note that you can really have different angles for your shin. So if your knee comes forward, it's not the end of the world. If your knee's vertical, it's not the end of the world. Let's have you step back and just do 2. What we do want to make sure is that we feel like we're putting the load on that front hip. We want to make sure our abs are staying nice and pulled in. We don't want to see any extending of the lower back. And we want to just see control through the entire movement. Your front foot should also be working nice and strong, just like all the exercises we're going to do. So now from there, we've just moved forward and back, because you could lunge forward, but I prefer the reverse lunge. And now we need to move into some lateral movement. So what we're gonna have her do is go into kind of almost like a straddle or a side lunge, really. Now, one of the key things that we see that happens often with this is people will not really sit back into their hip, and they'll just kind of drive the knee forward and run out of space. So what I want her to do is keep this nice and soft, and then the rest is really her butt back, and her chest is gonna kind of come forward. Now we'll show you the first rep just to about there, and then come out of it. Good. And just keep coming to my side. Let's do a few more. So this is kind of where the standard kind of range of motion might be. Might even be a little bit higher, that's okay, everybody's at their own levels. But what we can also do is put a little bit more of a mobility focus. So I'll have her do 1 rep where she goes ahead and goes to the ground like she's able to. So we're kind of thinking about pulling our left heel to our left butt cheek and then driving up out of there. Why don't you do 1 to the right? So we should feel a big stretch all through here, and we should be able to really load that right hip, especially the back, effectively. And then just do 1, let's go ahead and have you turn to your right and just do 1 rep. So let's have the whole body turn like you're gonna face that way, and then go into your whole straddle and just redo a couple of reps like that. So with this, one of the main things, like I said, is the idea that we don't really get our butt back and sit into it. So you can see her knee softens and it really sits back into the hip. On the way up, one of the cues that often gets used is the idea of straightening out your leg. Now, if we want to train the quads, that's fine. We can straighten out the leg. But what I want you to do is think about almost bringing your belt buckle forward and extending your hip as if your hip was actually going to go behind you. So that's a sensation that I want you to be finding when you're doing these. So as she comes out of the bottom here, she's not just straightening out her legs, she's actually bringing her hips forward and really getting that hip extension. Perfect. So now let's go ahead and face the camera again. So there's our side lunge. Now we want to kind of move in a different plane of motion and even across our body. So the next exercise we're going to get into is going to be the curtsy lunge. It's going to really challenge hip external rotation. Just really importantly that we're really getting into our hip and not loading the knee. So just make sure that as you're going through it, you really feel that hip working. And if you need to, you can even not step so far across your body and even just keep it more of almost just a diagonal step back. So as she steps back and across her body, sinks into it, and then drives up through it. Now to make it a little bit easier, she could just step almost towards me instead of across her body, so even just a little bit less angled across, and that would make it a little bit easier. But at the same time, if you have the mobility to do so, stepping across your body is a great way to really challenge that hip. And again, just looking to make sure that you don't feel in your knee. Why don't you go ahead and do 1 over this way. Good. And drive through there. Good. Now let's go ahead and have you turn towards there and just do 1 just like that. So again, this is our curtsy lunge. We want to really feel the outside of the hip, take the load, and really drive through as you come up. There should be nothing felt in the knee. Okay, so the last one we're gonna take you through is going to be our single leg deadlift. So this is, as you guys probably know, one of my favorite exercises. We wanna make sure we pull in, get nice and tight in the abs. We're gonna soften the knee that we're standing on, and then we're gonna be nice and smooth as we hinge back into it. As we go back into it, we wanna make sure our left big toe points towards the ground. And then as we drive up, same idea when I said with that side lunge is she's really using her butt to drive through and bring her belt buckle forward, not just straightening out her leg and leaving her hip behind. So we want to really be able to bring that forward. Go ahead and just do 2 more. As we go down into it, we're really loading the backside of the hip. We're looking for no rotation here. I want to make sure that she doesn't open up. So if her big toe started to face towards you and open up, then we would know that she's not keeping that. So we do just 1 more. I want to stay nice and soft in the knee. So again, we're loading the hip big time. When we go down, she's very, very mobile, very flexible. So she's gonna be able to get almost to the ground and even tap the ground if she wants to. For most people, just go ahead and do one where your hands get like where your knees are. So for most people, just going to here and then back up is perfectly fine and definitely a great place to start. One of the biggest mistakes I see with this is, hey, I need to touch the ground. Hey, I'm using a kettlebell, tapping the ground. Those things don't really, they're not necessary, and oftentimes they're just too much for the person doing them. So there's going to be our 4 exercises to really target the lower body in different planes of motion. We're going to get stability, strength, definitely build a booty with those. And remember, you can even add some progressive overload by holding a kettlebell or holding some dumbbells by your side. A couple of sets, maybe 3 to 4 of each of these, maybe get 5 to 15 reps of each of them, focusing on really stellar form, as Alex just showed you. And let us know if you have any questions about that. And lastly, again, remember, feel free to really pair abs, lower body, in superset fashion. It's a great way to really get after it at home. Enjoy the rest of your day, and we'll see you next time.